So these next few days are going to involve using the data we collected yesterday. So you can't go through and do the other stuff if you don't do this part. So make sure if you aren't here, you have a partner that you can kind of go in with things and do things so you don't get behind and you get a grade for this. So today we're going to talk about organizing the data that we collected yesterday. So make sure my screen is working. Okay, there we go. So one way that we can organize our data is by a frequency table. And what a frequency table is it displays the number of occurrences in each category or a range of values for a given variable. So I'm going to give you all kind of an example. So suppose that my survey question was, what was your favorite color? And on my notes, I had something like this, like just a bunch of colors kind of randomly in there. Well, what a frequency table does is it helps us organize this by just counting up how many of each type I have, and then that helps us be able to analyze things later on. Um, so if I were to create a frequency table, my categorical variable here is colors, and then the colors, the responses I got, that's what I'm going to write down. So I see, if I just go in order, my first entry looks like it was green. I'm going to count up how many greens I had. And I had 5. And then I'm going to do the same thing with all of these other colors, and it's just counting up how many of each one I have. And then we'll talk more about like what we're going to do with this information, but this is just kind of, first step is to collect data. Then once we collect it, we organize it on something like a frequency table here. Now, and then here I can see, I can look at some things. I can see I had the most blue, right? I can see I had the least amount of yellow and white. And then we'll kind of figure out some other stuff for there as well. A relative frequency table will give you the proportion of each category relative to the total number of observations. So just to remind you how to do that, that means like I want a percent. I'm going to ask for a percent, and you don't. Relative frequency doesn't have to be a percent. It could be a fraction or a decimal, but I want it as a percent so we can think about things relating to the whole class. Okay, so if this is my whole class, to calculate the relative frequency, you need to make sure you write this down if it's not in your notes. You need to calculate the total frequency. So in other words, how many people answer my survey? If I add up everything on frequency, that 5 and 4, 6, 9, 2, 5, 1, 1, that should tell me how many people actually filled out my survey because I have 5 greens, 4 blacks, so on and so forth. So I'm going to calculate my totals. I'm going to add those all together. And why I'm doing that is because I want to see what percent of people in the class chose green. Well, if 33 total people answered the survey and 5 of them chose green, then I can do 5 divided by 33 and calculate the percentage or relative frequencies. So I'm going to take my relative frequencies by dividing each frequency by the total frequency. So in this example, I'm going to start off by doing 5 divided by 33. And in your notes, you can go ahead and write this and fill this out like me. I'm going to show you how to get the percent as well. So I'm going to go ahead and write all of those are out of 33 because that's how many people answer my survey. If there was 22 people that answered your survey, everything would be out of 22, right? You add up your frequencies to get your total. Okay, now that I have this, I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to type in 5 divided by 33 and 4 divided by 33 and 6 divided by 33 and so on and so forth. And I'm going to write them as decimals, just like to 2 decimal places like this. And then I'm going to convert these to a percent by either multiplying those decimals by 100 or just moving the decimal place 2 units over to the right. And either way, I would get something like this. Now, if this was my class and I had 33 of you guys fill out my survey, now I can say 15% of you guys preferred green, 27% was the highest. Most people preferred blue out of any other category. So I had the highest there, and we can obviously see the lowest are yellow and white. But we can see those as proportions as they compare to the whole class. And when we're done, our relative frequencies should add up to 100%. So in your notes, I want you to complete example 1 and 2 under organizing categorical data. When you finish, yours should look something kind of like mine. So this is what you're doing from your data from yesterday. And I only want you to write percents. So you can write You can write the 5/33 first, but then I want you to just have it nice and neat and not look like where I have three different, like I don't want to see three different columns here. That's messy. That's just showing you how I came up with the percent. And when you finish, you're going to copy your frequency and relative frequency table from your notes onto a large poster-sized sheet of paper, which we'll cut out. And this is going to be have other things on the sheet of paper, so you need to make sure that it doesn't take up the entire page. But this whole thing that we're going to do, we're going to add something to it every day, basically for the next week. And this is going to be a grade in the class. This is not your project, but this is a formative. So before you do that, you or your partner need to bring me your completed table so I can make sure it looks correct. And then you're going to put it on the large sheet of paper. You will cut out a sheet of graph paper and write your survey question as the title to your big poster, and then copy your table onto the paper. But what I want this to look neat and professional. So if we're going to write a table, we want straight lines. I have rulers in here. Use them. I also have like containers that have markers and stuff like that. So you need to use those as well. I don't want this in pencil. You can sketch it in pencil, but it needs to pop and stand out. We're going to hang these in the hallway when we're done with everything. Both of your names need to be in the bottom right corner, or your name if you're doing it by yourself. And only make your table take up about half of the paper, because we're going to use the other half for something else later on. And that is all we did today.